Thank you, Sahani sir. Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning. This is the 1398th day of continuous webinar conducted by International Forum for Promoting Homeopathy. We welcome all to this session, and today our guest is Dr. NAJEEB Ahmed. Let us begin the session with 1 minute silent prayer. Thank you all. As you all know, the International Forum for Promoting Homeopathy comprises of homeopathic lovers, students, and homeopathic doctors. And we have today one of the best persons, Dr. NAJEEB Ahmed from Kerala. Is about to present a brilliant paper that is Homeopathic Aspect of Functional Medicine Part 2. Already he has presented the first part here, and he has completed his BHMS, IFM, and then FINEM, and MBA in HCS, etc. He has 15 years of clinical experience, and he is doing excellent services to promote homeopathy as well as promote functional medicine all over the world. So we proudly welcome Dr. NAJEEB Ahmed to this session. Okay, doctor, you can begin the session.
No, I'm audible now?
Yes, you're audible and the screen is visible. Everything fine.
Thank you, Dr. Dinesh. Thank you so much for the introduction. Thank you so much once again for inviting me to this auspicious event. I'm so happy here to come, and this is my fifth or sixth program in this platform, and second in English. My topic for the evening is the correlation between functional medicine and homeopathy. So in this part, in the previous part, those who missed the previous part, let me just flip through the content we have covered in the first part, why we fail to address chronic diseases. And we have visited Plato's cave, and the new versions of cave we have visited, and we met the new masters, the new workers, and the puppets and new prisoners of the cave. I suggest and request those who missed this previous session kindly go to the website and kindly review the video which is available there. And we have reviewed the medical sectors, the chaos, trends, and awakening, and aspirations in the field of medical sector, which is happening today. And we have reviewed homeopathy and functional medicine. What is the kind of connection we both have together? We couldn't, exactly examine those areas in detail in the previous session. So today we will try to do that. And today in the part 2 session, we are going to examine the scientific temper and the science and art of medical schools. And in the light of bacteriology, in the light of discoveries in the field of bacteriology and our own perspective in the field of bacteriology and microbiology. And in that, I will be telling you a story of a hero who saved millions of mothers from the clutches of death by sacrificing his own life. And we will try to understand microbiota in the light of bowel nostrils. We will try to understand homeopathic principle and homeostasis in the light of homeopathy. And we'll try to understand bowel nostril and microbiome once again. So let me, I don't know why, yeah. So these are the few slides we have covered in the past. So we have, we are trying to understand why the major killers are flourishing like a wildfire without any proper management, proper answer, despite having all the modern equipments, all the modern medical system we have here. And despite all those, the modern civilization is standing frozen in front of all these major killer diseases. Otherwise we call the diseases of civilization. Let me invite you to a lunatic asylum. A lunatic asylum in Budapest, in Hungary. A very famous doctor is being invited there to treat a very special patient. So he entered the lunatic asylum with a few others, and they assured him, they led him to the basement, to a particular room. They all entered the room to see the patient there. To his utter dismay, there was no patient inside the room. And he asked them, what is the patient? So one of the guy held his hand. Then he felt something awkward, something fishy. He tried to release and he tried to escape from the room, but 6 of the guards of the lunatic asylum jumped on him, jumped on this famous doctor, one of the very famous doctors in the country. They all subdued him. They beat him brutally inside the lunatic asylum, and they put him on a shackle, on a bed. They bound him on a bed and left him in an isolation chamber in the lunatic asylum. So let us go to scene number 3, a flashback 20 years earlier. 20 years earlier in Vienna, in Hungary, in Austria, a morgue, an autopsy room. A doctor is playing with a corpse, with a cadaver, a rotten, ugly cadaver of 3 days old, and he's working with that without any gloves. That is the norm in those days, 1820s, 30s, and 40s. There was no rubber latex gloves. There was no gown. He played with the cadaver. He tried to open it. He did all the examination. He closed it and he left he completed 3 cadaver autopsy that particular day, and he just rubbed his hands in a rag cloth in the corner of the autopsy room, and he left the autopsy room for the next patient, which is waiting for him in the labor room. You heard it correct. After completing cadaver autopsy, he went straight forward to the labor room to attend his next patient, between the corridor of life and death. He played with the death, the corpse. Now he is attending he's attending and welcoming a new baby to the wonders of this world, with the same apron, same cloth, same dirty hand, without any gloves. And he assisted the lady waiting for him, and the labor assistant helping the lady delivering the child with the bare hand, with some struggle, with some effort. And the new life came into existence. So all are happy, the relatives are happy, the lady had a great pleasure, 9 months of toil, pain, and she got her trophy, her moment of joy. She was so happy, but the happiness did not last long. Next day, the very next day, the lady developed a very bad fever. She had a lurking, toxin filled in her veins. She started to develop puerperal fever, otherwise called childbed death. And she developed it, and for the doctors, it is nothing. It is another day. It is another patient of puerperal fever. Nothing new, nothing very special. Almost 20% of the mothers die out of puerperal fever those days. In Europe, in other part of the world, even more. So there is nothing new in that. There is nothing special. So the lady lost her life on the 3rd or 4th day, as usual. So one of the doctors in the group was not very happy with the scenario. He was not very happy with the narratives. He was not very happy. He was a seeker of truth, as you have seen in the previous session, like this in the cave allegory. So his name was Ignaz Semmelweis. Ignaz Semmelweis was not happy with the narrative. He was not happy with the death of these unfortunate mothers. So he thought of studying the case. He thought of why the mothers are, why 20% of the mothers are dying, why other 80 are, not dying. So he started to learn. So he started to explore the various scenarios of childbed death. Something strange but startling came in his observation. So he realized that 80 to 20% of the elite patients are dying in doctor's clinic. There are two kinds of delivery happens in Vienna those days, in Europe in those days. One is doctor's clinic, other one is midwife clinics. Midwife clinics is mostly visited by less affordable patients, less affluent patients, where the doctor's clinic is being visited by rich people. And every facility is there in doctor's patient. And whereas the midwife clinic is a modest clinic, despite this modesty, despite this want of facility, death is much lesser than the doctor's clinic. So this is something which is very strange for the Dr. Ignaz. So he tried to understand further. He has visited midwife clinic to learn more about why patients are less likely to die in those midwife clinic than the doctors, despite having all the facility there. So he could see a stark difference between the patient profile in both clinics. In doctor's clinic, there are so many other patients, so many other infections, so many other cases. So doctors are attending cadaver, playing with dead body. They are coming and attending, the delivery with the same hands without cleaning it properly. So this is not the case in midwife clinic. So he further explored it, and he has realized, he tried to start cleansing his hands and his team's hands with carbolic acid. He tried various other potions and chemicals, and he find while washing with strong carbolic acid, the death rate of the doctor's clinics has improved much better than previous, and it has reduced well below the 2% of the clinic in midwives. So he has bettered even the midwives range by using properly washing hand sanitization or hand washing. So he has presented this paper. He has started advocating it among his colleagues. So most of his colleagues ridiculed him. Like any other new novel understanding, new novel findings, the contemporary scientific authority ridiculed him, blamed him, and they have blamed him for visiting the places like midwife to learn the science. Being doctors should not learn anything from the midwives. So they have become so angry and hostile to him. So they try to ridicule him. They try to stamp him as lunatic. Those days he was suffering from some early senile dementia, some kind of mental deterioration as well. Out of all those pressure from the colleagues, from the system, they denied his reputation. They denied his positions and his promotions. So many stress he was suffering from. So showing presenile dementia. So seeing all those as an opportunity to put him on an asylum, they put him on asylum forcefully by setting a trap. So coming back from the first slide, from the lunatic asylum, we are visiting back to the lunatic asylum 13 days after. After 13 days, as the drama, as the irony in the human life, the man who fought against the puerperal sepsis or septicemia during his entire life, he lost his same very life to the same septicemia from the brutal injury he had during his struggle with the prisoner guard 13 days ago. So he has developed a septicemia in the wound he has succumbed. He has developed in the right hand by the prisoner's guard, inflicted by the prisoner's guard. So he lost his life. So he went into oblivion. Nobody thought about him, about his findings, about the septicemia, about the doctor's hand sanitation, everything. So after 20 plus years, new revelations came in. Louis Pasteur started to ferment the bacteria. Then Robert Koch isolated tuberculosis and anthrax bacteria. And Edward Jenner invented smallpox vaccine. George Lister started using antiseptic creams and potions and fumigations by using carbolic acid. So the new invention of bacteriology came in. Then the medical industry, medical hegemony started to think about Ignaz Somerville, and they posthumously recognized him and glorified him as a champion of bacteriology, champion of medical hygiene or hand sanitization, and he has glorified as the father of hand sanitization or personal hygiene. So then the new era of medical bacteriology came in, and a lot of new discoveries came in, and new lotions and potions came in, and chlorides, carbolic acid, phenols, antibiotics, antifungal agents, DDT, endosulfan. A lot of armamentum have been developed in the war against microbes or tiny microbial agents. So we have started an all-new war against the microbes, against the tiny world of bacteria and fungus or viruses, whatever we call that. So we have started to employ indiscriminately every possible arena of our life, like personal care product, hand soap, apparels, foodstuffs, school supplies, countertops, kitchenwares, wherever possible, we have dabbed with antibacterial agents or with a very strong antibacterial agent, and manufacturers started working with various strength of antibacterial agents. So they started developing 89%, 85%, 95%, and finally all agree with 99% of antibacterial agents, indiscriminately killing all the bacteria. So enemy, there is no discrimination. They started killing bacteria. The only slogan in the big pharma, in the field of pharmaceutical companies, in the field of hand sanitization, in the field of personal care, in the field of textiles, whatever you call it, and people are started to fight against their big war against bacteria and microbiomes, like those old war of Baron Don Quixote against the fictional enemies of Winville. There was a story in Europe, a baron named Don Quixote. He, out of delusion, he fought against windmills, believing that they are the giants. So this was the Don Quixotean war the medical industry was fighting against. or the big pharma was fighting against during from the very early century, days of 20th century. So we met an end of our war, finding that we are not reaching anywhere. The bacteria are gaining strength after strength. Viruses are spreading enormously powerful. All the virus, all our fight was not reaching us anywhere. So the latest of that, one of the many thousands of revelations from the modern medicine. This is the report by WHO that widespread overuse of antibiotics in patients hospitalized in COVID-19. So WHO warned several other occasions against indiscriminate use of antibiotics in pediatrics, in geriatrics, in various country cases, various geographic cases. So they have warned overuse of antibiotics and antibacterial agents in various occasions. This is one of the examples. So this is another very interesting, very funny case of warning from an article written by none other than Dettol itself. So Dettol is famous or notorious or glorified for its indiscriminate viruses and bacteria, especially against bacteria, by a myriad of a great range of personal care product, clothing product, and hygiene product or sanitation products. So they have recently written an article, by saying that while it is okay to maintain personal hygiene, but our overdoing it by making us dangerously vulnerable to the prevalence of diseases. Overdoing of bacterial agents, overusing of even Dettol, by using Dettol itself, is making us dangerously vulnerable to the prevalence of diseases. So there is a thin line in between living peacefully with a good bacteria and being obsessive about cleaning our surroundings. So this is the words of wisdom, although laid by Dettol. And Dettol further says that by providing our earth with half of its oxygen, maintaining nitrogen and decomposing organic waste, protecting a body from other microorganisms, there is a lot of environmental responsibility that they are taking on dutifully. They are talking about microbes. These are the great duty these microbes are doing. So we need to be discriminate. We need to be cautious while we play around, while we using our antibacterial and antiviral agents. So that is the new version, new anticipatory bail taken by our Dettol itself. So they further say that the next time you spritz your body with a lot of body washes and other moisturizing creams and vigorously rub off, think of your battle partners, otherwise known as good microbes, that you are killing on your skin field. So the notorious Dettol, there was a time Dettol was indiscriminately promoting antibacterial agents, antibacterial and antimicrobial agents. So now the words of wisdom, word of revelation came in front of them, in front of us. From where those revelation came, let us examine. So far, what is our stand for homeopathy? For us, where are we standing in this war against virus in the new words of wisdom? So especially from the realm of new medical wisdom from all those great Ivy League universities like Stanford, Harvard, MIT, and all those big names like Mayo Clinic and Cleveland. So the new revelations of medicine is coming in. New omic science are coming. So where we are standing as homeopaths, we believe in cure from within. We believe body can heal itself. We believe that microorganisms are just scavengers. They have their role, friendly or enemy. They can be both. And according to Ken, they are just scavengers. It is our body which is deciding whether they can kill us or not. So gut microbiome and intestinal microbiome can cause myriads of diseases. So that is another thing. If you kill them, if there is dysbiosis, that can cause a lot of diseases like acne in our face to Alzheimer's as a dreaded diseases. So it can cause anything. So bacteria can cause much harm, as Master Hahnemann himself teaches us, much harm in our body sometimes. So homeopathy in low attenuation can kill, as in carbolic acid in cholera. Master himself has the camphor in cholera. Master himself has utilized in those Asiatic cholera days. So restarting health by strengthening or restoring health by strengthening our disease fighting mechanism. This is where we stand. So what was the Hahnemannian perspective about those bacteria or virus? He had a very advanced vision, much ahead of his time. So half century before Robert Koch's germ theory in 1988, Hahnemann thought about bacteria. He had a very, very precise idea about the existence of microscopic form of life. He used the form of life. Despite the others in those days, they suspected something which is chemical, which can be a death agent, they call it, but they didn't realize that it's a form of life during the days. Even the very Ignaz Semmelweis put in the Gus while he postulated that something is transferring from doctor's hand to the womb of mother. He couldn't guess it is a form of life. He thought it can be a chemical, it can be a toxin, it can be something else. He didn't really thought about it was a tiny form of life. He couldn't explain in light of bacteria or virus or whatever it is. He was simply having a wild guess about something is transferring, something contagious transferring from the hands of doctors. By thorough washing, we can remove the toxins or death agent, but he couldn't guess what it is. So that was during the days of Asiatic cholera in decades of 18. Hahnemann said, in those confined places, modular, moldy, watery places, cholera miasm find its favorable element of multiplication, and it broods excessively those minute, invisible living creatures so inimical to human life, of which contagious matter of the cholera most probably consists. This was what Dr. Hahnemann wrote in his lesser writing about Asiatic cholera. So, American physician in the 19th century, there was a Johns Hopkins University book which talk about 19th century physician. In that they have mentioned about Dr. Samuel Hahnemann's much advanced revelation about Asiatic cholera with reverence, and Hahnemann's advice about certain frequent protagonists. The cholera physicians and nurses are certain and frequent propagators of the cholera. So before Ignaz Semmelweis, before Robert Koch, Dr. Samuel Hahnemann has envisioned that even physicians and nurses are propagators of diseases in the case of Asiatic cholera. But these stories were not sung taken by press, although it is been mentioned in Johns Hopkins University press. And again, Master Hahnemann's view about psychotherapy and mental diseases was much ahead of his time. I'm talking about homeopathy and science and art. This is something we can see. The entire new psychiatric vision he was postulating much ahead of his time. He never allowed punishment by blows. It was the practice those days. Painfully, boldly chastisement, bodily punishments, action of violence and brutality. This you must be remembering the story of Ignaz Zimmerwald. He was brutally beaten by prison guard, believing that the lunatics, the mental patients can be beaten, can be violently handled. This is the norm. This is the practice. So there is nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong in beating a patient, a mental patient, in controlling him in lunatic asylum. So this was the practice. So Hahnemann was against that. He has strongly advocated on non-punishment because of the involuntary action of lunatic patients, because he believed that the mental diseases are not a crime of a patient. It is not a crime of a patient. It is not a crime of his previous birth. So it was all the postulate, all the belief system those days. So there was nothing wrong in punishing people. So Master Hahnemann was highly against those practices. Then he advocated psychoanalysis and psychotherapy. And he believed it is much more important than drug therapy or medical therapy of those days. And another thing, and he talked about things that can spoil the air. He talked about environmental sanitation. He avoid burning of candles more than necessary in a close environment. So candle smoke can be toxic, and it can deprivate the oxygen. So he talk about avoiding burning candles and using excessive wild flowers, live flowers in a small rooms, sleeping in a room where there is stored fruits. So workshops with should be sufficiently high, should be roomy and airy and clean. And he suggested trees which can prevent to avoid trees, preventing daylight and pure air in front of the windows, at least 12 spaces from the windows. So that was his environmental teaching. And he talked about purification of highly polluted water. Those days, that was a practice. They collected water, they stored water. So purification was a great challenge. So he has advised of purifying before taking it, by preserving it, by using wood charcoals for 1 pound for every 400 pounds. He advised using wood charcoal. Even today, charcoal is been used as a disinfecting agent in water purification agents, even in toxin or contamination. It has been used as a parenteral agent, as biological charcoal. So charcoal has been used by even today by modern system as a detoxifying agent. So another thing is prevention of epidemics. We have seen what is happened in the days of COVID these days. So he has advised very modern residential and town practices and preventive measures in addressing epidemics and pandemics. So he has advocated there should be in a space between two houses, there should be courtyard, and there should be straight. The street should be straight and broad, and stock fishes, factories, warehouses, butcher shops, and glue boilers. All these should be kept and outside the city gates. So it should not be, these kind of businesses should not be there in the residential premises. That was Master Hahnemann advised in those areas. He has published a book called The Friends of Health. In that, he has explained a lot of personal hygiene, prisoner welfare, and environmental hygiene, and lifestyle management principles, which was far ahead of his time. So he has maintained, he has advised to maintain the personal hygiene in taking food and drinks, overeating, night watching, deliberating, debilitating emotions and sexual excess, anger, grief, and emotional excess, and all sort of stress in mind. So he talked about mother and baby health. He has advised of great care should be taken during the pregnancy, during the delivery, and postnatal, and prenatal and postnatal, and mother's education in caring the babies, breastfeeding. He has advocated breastfeeding, and he has advocated child education, and so forth. So this is another paper, a letter by Dr. Hahnemann, which has been kept in the Harvard University archives. In that letter, Dr. Hahnemann wrote about using spirited camphor in addressing Asiatic cholera. So coming into the functional medicine, where functional medicine is standing, what are the correlation between, and we saw that homeopathy was far ahead of its time in those days. But how much we are ahead of this time? Are we maintaining that scientific timber our master Hahnemann was keeping in those days? We need to ask this question to ourselves. We need to compare our stand in front of functional medicine, a similar system. Functional medicine is another system medicine, we can say, which has taken a lot of learning from homeopathy. Functional, when we examine these two medicines, we will see a lot of sisterhood, a lot of brotherhood, a lot of similarities in principles, in practices. So we need to understand what is functional medicine first. And we have visited in last session also. There are a lot of omic science, and functional medicine is based on this nutrigenomics, microbiomics, and a lot of other medicine and new science which is emerging since last 2-3 decades. So homeopathy and functional medicine, the basic principles are, it believes in system biology as we believe in holistic approach. We also believe in system approach, and we, like us, they personalize, they believe in personalized care. There is no one-stop solution for everything. So the personalized care can be of genetic, lifestyle, environmental aspects of the person can be addressed. So root cause is another area. It can be gut dysbiosis, it can be hormonal imbalance, inflammation, nutritional deficiencies, and these can cause diseases other than the superficial cause we see. And it believes in evidences. Every functional medicine scenario, every patient is being addressed with the proper evaluation, clinically and laboratory, and microbiome analysis. Again, other analysis like the sleep, food analysis, movement, stress, and so many other lifestyle parameters been addressed. Body parameters been addressed. Biochemical and biomedical parameters been addressed. And so it is natural. Functional medicine believes that it should not create further violence. Primum non nocere, as Hippocrates advised. So these are the few omic sciences, new science which is happening, which is very much related to homeopathy as well, like genomics, like microbiomics, metabolomics, nutrigenomics, epigenetics, exposomics. And Hahnemann has talked about all these. Exposomics, epigenomics, nutrigenomics. He talked about it in his books in those days of wisdom. So we need to examine where we are standing today in the light of all these new sciences. Are we aware of this? Are we upgraded ourselves by learning, by correlating our clinical practices with these new sciences? Are we doing enough clinical evidences, enough biochemical analysis, enough laboratory analysis of a patient before and after our treatment, like functional medicine does it? Core philosophy have reviewed. We have reviewed these areas, and I'll skip these slides, and I will just go through a summary by examining the similarities between two systems. We believe in hormesis. We are the one who were the proponents of hormesis by using artificial morphic agents. That is what we call our medicines. We use stressors. We use medicines as stressors, and we provoke the human innate, disease-fighting mechanism to strengthen our vital force, to streamline our deranged vital force, to place it in its proper place. So we use stressors, we use hormetic agents, we use medicines as provocative agents. We call it artificial morphic agents otherwise. So this is what hormesis is. So in microscopic doses, in minute doses, an agent can stimulate. We will examine it later. We use batch flower remedies, and the functional medicine people use Western herbs, essential oils, and they use batch flower medicine as we do, and we use choiceless tissue salts, and they use mineral supplements. So coming into root cause, we believe in miasm, constitutional and suppression. They believe in genetic and lifestyle. In personalization, we both practice personalized care, because we don't have one medicine for every patient of diabetes, every patient of headache. We are highly personalized in our patient's approach. Then causal theories, we believe in this. We evaluate three different areas of causes, like indisposition, exciting cause, maintaining cause, and root cause. And in functional medicine, they believe in parenteral prenatal causes, triggers, perpetuators, very similar to our causal theories. We both are having holistic approach, and we both believe in alternation of diseases. This is very interesting. Since we both believe in systemic approach, we both are believe in system biology. This alternative disease can happen. If we suppress disease in one area, the disease can go to another area. This is exactly what functional medicine is also believe in. And the lifestyle factors, functional medicine take it in very high regard. Functional medicine examines lifestyle factors, and we also, in some way, examine it, but not like functional medicine. We both believe in evidence-based, approach, but in homeopathy, our evidence-based medicine, our evidence is simply limited to something called empirical evidences. We don't do much lab evaluation. We don't do much other biological evaluation. Of course, we do some level of clinical investigation, but that also not up to the mark. That is what I believe in. Then hormesis. That is one of the very strong umbilical cord connection between new science and homeopathy. And new science, like functional medicine, should be thankful to homeopathy for promoting and maintaining this hormetic principle. Intermittent fasting, one of the hormetic principle which is been used by functional medicine. Autophagy is the principle. Autophagy is something which is happening when doing intermittent fasting. So high intensity training is another exercise, another hormetic treatment. Cryotherapy is another hormetic principle, hormetic treatment which has been used by functional medicine. Eating fruits and vegetables is another hormetic thing. Ozone therapy is another hormetic principle. Hormetic therapy being used by functional medicine. And so what is hormesis? Hormesis is when you use minimum doses to subclinical doses, you will get benefit. When you use the same agent in high doses, that will cause a toxic effect. Any toxic agent, any otherwise harmful agent, when we use it in a micro doses, can help us in stabilizing our health, in stabilizing our homeostasis. That is something called hormesis, dose against stressor. Coming to another interesting area, all of us have a single book called Allen's Keynote. This is our Bible. Without Allen's Keynote, there is no homeopathy. And one of the much untrodden area for most of our Allen's Keynote is last 16, 14, 15 pages. So 18 pages, exactly. There is something called bowel nostrils. And today, we don't use bowel nostrils in our clinical practices. And if at all it has been used, it has been used in some research systems. In Kerala, it is happening. In some CCRH, I don't know whether it's happening. But some research is happening, thankfully. But we are no more using bowel nostrils as it has been used in the early days of 20th centuries. And Dr. Patterson has presented a paper, an epic paper in 30s and in 45. And he has, and a few others like Dr. Bash, Edward Bash, and Dr. John Patterson, and few others started using bowel nostrils in early days of 20th century, even 20s. So almost a century ago. So bowel nostril is based on a principle called bowel microbiome. So they examined bowel microbiome flora and population after administration of every homeopathic medicine. Every deep acting homeopathic medicine, they try to understand what is happening in the bowel flora. And they have isolated some bowel nostrils, bowel microbiomes after seeing the proliferation of bacteria after administration of homeopathic medicine. They cultivated medicine out of that. That is called bowel nostrils. So they have matched a bowel nostril with a sister remedy in Materia Medica. So we know that a B. Morgan sister remedy is Lycopodium and lachesis, and they have mapped a principal element also for all the bowel nostrils. Then Proteus, chlorine is the bowel nostril, and the natrum group of medicines are the sister remedies, all the natrum group of medicines. Then Bacillus, or the 7 of Patterson. Bromine and iodine is the chemicals, and bromine and iodine in homeopathy are the sister remedies, of course. Gardner, silica, phosphorus, fluorine, again, those corresponding medicines has the sister remedies. So another connection between homeopathy and functional medicine is strongly believe in tissue salts. So strongly believe in vitamin and mineral deficiencies. And balancing vitamins and minerals is highly important in functional medicine practices. So we can see a correlation, a kind of parallelism between functional medicine and our tissue salts. So, for example, MAGFOS being used in homeopathy in success potencies is been highly advised, have been highly similar to magnesium citrate and glycinate is used in functional medicine. And now calcium salt, calcarea phos and calcarea iodide or whatever we are using, which is very similar to tri-basic calcium phosphate, and selenium supplied. Again, we are using selenium in low potencies, and functional medicine, they use selenium as a supplement, of course. So we have all these similarities. Again, common herbs we use. And functional medicine, they use all these medicine as Western herbs, and they advise homeopathic medicine. Or most of the functional medicine doctors advise homeopathic medicine heavily and profusely, other than all these Western herbs. So they use homeopathic medicines of like Gymnema sylvester, Hydrastis, Crataegus, and Soapalmetto, mistletoe is another interesting case. They use homeopathic injectables in curing diseases like cancer. Viscum album we use in as myelin oil and so many other things. But in functional medicine, they use it as an injection. In Western practice, most of the homeopathic medicines are used as injectables. There is something called philanthropic medicine, homophilic medicine. So this is there are a set of medicine which is used in homeopathic medicine, been used in veterinary as well as injectables. So these are the area where we need to explore and examine to see what we can do in homeopathy, where we can make a bridge between homeopathy and functional medicine, where we are lacking, where we need to examine ourselves, where we need to be able to speak to the new generation of Alpha and generation Millennium or generation Z. So the new generation is going to ask us questions. Are we ready to face those questions? Almost 20 to 30% of the population in the world is generation Z and Alpha. So are we equipped to address those questions which they are going to ask us? Thank you so much. We will further examine the other areas of genomics and epigenomics, if possible, in another session. Thank you for listening. We can open the session for questions and discussions.
Thank you, Dr. Najeeb. Really a very excellent and thrilling session from you. You really show what homeopathy offers for the next generation, as well as how homeopathy can be used as along with functional medicine's philosophy and as a part of functional medicine also. So that shows that there are still a hope for homeopathy and other systems to survive, and definitely homeopathy can go ahead and can win the second. Now we all know that we are in the second largest system in the world, and now we can come to the first level if all the support we get from other people, just like in the people from functional medicine. Definitely that kind of research and that kind of work and that kind of unity among us is the need of the hour to bring homeopathy to the topmost level. Thank you, Dr. NAJEEB Ahmed, once again, and let us go for the discussion. Dr. Sri Ahmed Hassan from Saudi Arabia want to have a question to you. Welcome, Ahmed Hassan. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah. Good evening, sir. Sir, Dr. Najeeb, very educative webinar, especially interdisciplinary relation with the all microbes or everything, and about I am in laboratory side. So when I started my job in 1974, there was no pipette, no hand pipette. I have to use mouth pipettes. So that's all. It is a good grace, and really your microbes and everything was very effective and very useful as a historical. And I like to add today also this hospital acquired infection, because they are having low immunity, and when they will get hospitalized, they develop all microbacterial resistance, and alhamdulillah, it is written they will die, but they are dying complication due to the resistance of drug. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Anyway, that's a good comment once again. And now, Dr. Ramparesh, sir, you can ask your question. Yes, you can directly go to the question. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Taneji. Congratulations, Dr. NAJEEB Ahmed, sir. Very nice, beautiful describe the microbiology and bacterial functional medicine, by flower and biochemistry and no should remedy. Very thanks. Very good describe. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Doctor.
The most important point I would like to mention about you, Dr. Najeeb, is that you are bringing stories from the ancient textbooks and people around the world, so that you are taking that as an example and bringing such a beauty in the sessions. Your stories are really excellent. That's natural stories. Of course, you even discussed about the evolution of Dettol. And that itself show how it works and what is the relevance of a Dettol in those days. And we all know that in this present day, at the time of COVID, people, doctors and public started showing how to wash your hand. Actually, we were doing from the very birth itself, but unfortunately, people are doing it in a different style. And that there are a lot of papers are being used for cleaning the hand. But things are entirely changed because of COVID, and COVID has bring out what are the things one has to do, one need to do, of course, with those things we were doing from the very ancient time itself. What's your opinion on that, Dr. Najeeb?
Well, so thank you so much for asking that question. This is a very interesting area where we need to. So there is something called hygiene theory in science, in medical science. Hygiene theory says that when we live in an overtly cleanly places, environment, we will lose something called an innate acquired immunity, and we will have a compromised acquired immunity. And when we overdo with the cleanliness, when we wash, as we were doing in those days of COVID days, washing is good. Washing and personal hygiene is one of the most important thing as a civilized human being we can do. So, but anything too much is bad. Even Amrit, too much is bad. So, washing and washing and washing, we were killing our most beautiful, asset called innate microbiome. We were annihilating by indiscriminate use of microbiome agents or antibacterial agents. So we need to strike a balance. We need to be clean and fine, but we need to have a balance. Anything too much is bad. So that is why in the modern world we are finding a lot of problems, a lot of issues, a lot of conditions in especially in Western world, where there is hygienic practice was very stringent and I can say brutal. So they were having the kids were having a lot of autoimmune diseases, a lot of respiratory diseases, so and so forth. So the hygiene theory says that we need to have a kind of balanced environment. We need to expose ourselves, especially in our early days of birth. Even when we come out of the birth canal of our mother, we are contracting a lot of bacteria. So that bacteria is going to help us through our entire life. And during our childhood, we play with our dirt, we play with the mud, we play with our other kids in the kindergarten. We contract diseases. And these diseases are our most precious assets as a species. we human being as a species, we are getting all these, diseases. We are contracting them. We are gaining resistance to them. We are gaining resistance to future infections. So there is a wonderful book. There is a beautiful book written by Josh Alec called Eat Dirt. Eat Dirt. Okay. Eat dirt. Eat kachara. Okay.
Yes, yes.
So in that book, he explains that we need to expose ourselves. We need to throw our kids to kindergarten. We need to throw them on the street, in the park, in the garrison, in the metro stations. Let them play there. Let them roll themselves there. We need to freely advise them to roll in the beaches, roll in the gardens. So this is something. This is how we can make ourselves strong as a species.
Yes,
Thank
yes, that's good. That's a very good answer once again from you. And it's up to Tassis and Hilary from Turkey to have a question.
Thank you very much for this nice presentation, Dr. NAJEEB.
Thank you.
My question is this: in homeopathy, we are considering mainly beside the materialistic world with mind and emotions, mental and emotional factors, which
Yes.
affect the vital force mostly.
Yes.
What
Yes.
is the consideration of functional medicine on these?
Thank you so much
Mentals,
for asking.
emotions.
Yeah. Please
Thank you.
carry on. Please, you didn't complete.
That's all. What is the
Okay, done. Thank
consideration
you.
of functional medicine? It is
Well-
seems missing if we consider your presentation.
Yeah. Maybe we will be going in detail in those areas in the coming days. To answer your question, functional medicine give very high regard, very high value to person's mind, emotion, and spirit, even the spiritual aspects. So functional medicine gives a very high value, and it integrates this discipline of psychotherapy, psychiatric medication, of course, in some cases, but psychotherapy, psychoanalysis, and counseling disciplines actively into the case management. And in every functional medicine is a teamwork. In any functional medicine unit, there will be a psychologist as a consulting psychologist in the panel. Functional medicine is not a one doctor's job. There will be a panel. There will be nutritionists. There will be psychologists. There will be a conventional doctor. There will be an alternative doctor. There, like homeopath, and there will be somebody who work on physical fitness. A physical fitness instructor can be there in the team. So functional medicine advocate this panorama of disease management. It's not a single person's job. It's a teamwork, and there will be a psychologist in every functional medicine system.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, it's a time to wind up the session. I invite Dr. Tassit and Hilary to say a vote of thanks to the session also.
Thank you very much for this nice presentation on behalf of IFPH and all the participants. And I want to see the next topic presentation on this platform again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye.
Yes, as you all know that the World Cup final is going on there. That's maybe the reason why some lesser number of participants in this in the session, even though definitely we will upload the session on YouTube, so those who miss can watch again and again, and you can share it all, because this is one of the best presentation from a different concept, and that's the beauty of Dr. NAJEEB Ahmed. Once again, congratulations to you as well as those who participate in the session also. Thank you all. Good night.